Get your questions answered and just look at this, and we're going to talk about the opportunity of Ambit Energy right now. So let's get started. Why did I start my Ambit business? I started my Ambit business, I'll tell you the truth, because I got 3 daughters, which is 14, 12, and 8 years old, and I know for a long time to come I'm going to have a lot of bills, a lot of weddings, a lot of stuff to pay, colleges, and all that kind of stuff. I knew that that was going to be my ticket if I found something else that could help me pay for all of that, as well as retirement, as well as financial freedom. But as you look at this opportunity, I would encourage you tonight to identify your why. What is the reason that you're sitting in this room tonight to look at this opportunity? Is it because you want some additional income? Is it because of the fact to reduce or eliminate your debts? Is it to create more time with your family? I wanted more time as well. I've been in corporate work, but I was always on the run, worked for a lot of time for somebody else, making their dreams come true, but not mine. Is it to provide more time with charity for yourself? Is it to build savings? Is it to start a college education fund? Or is it just for that financial freedom? That financial freedom that this business can certainly tell you, or can certainly bring to you. I just encourage you, one last thing, when you identify your why, if your why is strong enough, you'll figure a way how. Write down your why. Write it down, put it on a piece of paper, and use whatever these reasons is up here on the screen every single day. Look at that, and that will help you as your motivation to get your business started. So with that, I'm going to introduce our next speaker. I take that back. Before I get going to the next speaker, I'll do the slide real quick. Why Ambit is the right choice? Ambit is the right choice because we are the right company. We are the right company right here, right now, in the state of Illinois. It's focused on your success in the field as consultants. We're in an expanding industry. We're going to talk tonight about deregulation. Some folks might have heard an awful lot of deregulation, but I bet there's some people in the room that are fairly new to the knowledge of deregulation. It's been all over the papers and all over the newspaper ads of late. It's time to be a part of that. We got the perfect product, something that's unconsciously purchased, habitually used month after month after month, and something people pay for right after they pay their mortgage. And on top of that, we're going to show you the greatest opportunity in the world, I firmly believe, which is the old Jerry Maguire story, show me the money. We're going to show you how to make some money with this opportunity and do it for yourself and do it for the other people that you bring into your life, that you can help change their lives right along the way. So with that, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker is actually a senior consultant. I was standing out in the hall talking, somebody says, I know where you're from. He says, I'm from downtown. Immediately, I thought he was going to say downtown Chicago. And he goes, I'm from downtown Neighborhood. I said, oh, okay. Really? My mind's going this way, and I'll take that, boom, do right. I took the West Coast. So I introduce you tonight our featured speaker at the beginning of the presentation, Mr. Mike Marcheski, senior consultant from downtown Neighborhood.
How's everyone doing? All right, I'm going to get started here, and before I do, I want to ask you a question. Have you guys noticed that there's more poor people in this country than there are rich people? By the way, it works a lot better if you participate. Have you noticed that there's more poor people than there are rich people in this country? Have you ever asked yourself why? You can't teach someone what you don't know. I was a helicopter pilot in the United States Navy during the Desert Storm. Could anybody in this room teach me how to fly a helicopter? You can't teach someone what you don't know. We were brought up being taught some things that simply aren't true anymore. We were taught an honest day's labor for an honest day's pay. Were we? And that is not the case, ladies and gentlemen. The fact is you have to get overpaid to be successful in the 21st century. Another thing we were taught. Go to school, get a good education, so you get a good job, Kenny. Work hard for money, keep your shoulder to the grindstone, you be good to the boss and they'll be good to you. Folks, that is a crock. How's that working for you right now, that advice? See, my father was a police commander in Chicago, so Africans was unacceptable in our house, and my father made me do what all my friends weren't doing. I wanted to go to St. Ignatius High School. I followed my father's advice, which is the top high school in the state. I went to the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. Any of you up here at West Point? I went to Naval Academy. I did everything my father told me to do, and in 1997, some 13 years ago, when I was 21 years old, I was a broke Chicago policeman. My wife and I were making about $80,000, $90,000 a year. She was in the sales industry, in the hotel industry, and we were robbing Peter to pay Paul. We were racing our paycheck to the bank on Friday because we wrote some checks on Wednesday. We were going to bounce. We didn't get our paycheck in the bank. Anyway, How do you know? Sorry. So, just like most, sorry, John, I'm talking to him, I know him, so I can do it, right? So, about 13.5 years ago, I was invited to my first meeting. How many of you, this is your first meeting, right? Good friend of mine called me up, said, Mike, I got a business, you need to go check it out. It's in Rosemont. I'm a South Side Chicago guy, right? And I'm a Chicago cop. You know any policemen? You know, we're taught everyone lies, you don't trust anyone, right? So here I am, I go, what's in Rosemont, Billy? He says, I can't tell you, trust me, just go. So I drive out to Rosemont, I get put in a group interview, 40 people in the room, all wearing suits except me. I'm in Chicago Bears sweatshirt and jeans. And I'm looking around the room saying to myself, Billy's a dead man when I get home. I was convinced he'd invite me to an Amway meeting. Ladies, I was hoping it was Mary Kay, maybe I get a free facial out of the deal before I went home. And I almost got up and left, but you know why I didn't leave? I'll tell you why I didn't leave, Priscilla. I understood my wife and I's financial situation. And it wasn't too darn good. So I stayed and I listened, and I remember the gentleman at the front of the room telling me that he was going to give us a chance to be somebody. And I wanted to be somebody so bad it bordered on an obsession. How many of you want to be somebody your kids can be proud of? You know, I want to be somebody. And I remember at the end of the meeting when all the suits left, I said, you show me what to do, and I'll run through walls for my children. I entered into the direct sales industry, company's not important, 13 years ago. Over that time period, I was paid about $2.5 million. So I get this deal. And I want you to understand that about 8 months ago, I was in a transitional period, and I was looking for something that I could sink my teeth into and feel as passionate about as I did that first company. A good friend of mine introduced me to Ambit Energy, and what I'm going to share with you is kind of what I saw that made me realize that this is the place where I was going to quit running. See, everyone in this room, you have to decide to quit running, to plant your flag, and go fight for your family's financial freedom. I hope that Ambit Energy, but if it's not, you better find a place, because in this country, the only thing that you're going to be promised is a punch in the nose. You're going to have to go fight and scratch and claw for your freedom, and trust me, that's just the way it is. So when you're looking at Ambit Energy, our co-founder, Jerry Thompson Jr., said it was his vision to create the finest and most respected energy company in the world. Notice he didn't say fastest growing or most profitable. He told us that he would never sacrifice integrity for growth. The co-founders are the gentlemen on the right of the screen. Jerry Thompson Jr., his grandfather founded a company called 7-Eleven. Any of you know who 7-Eleven is? Jerry's father and uncles turned 7-Eleven into what it is today, the largest and most successful franchise system ever created in the world. I think Jerry might know a little something about building a successful business. It's in his genetics. It's in his DNA. Does that make sense? Gentleman on his right is a gentleman by the name of Chris Chambliss. Chris Chambliss was an executive vice president, one of the top 5 executives at a company called Excel Communications. How many of you have ever heard of Excel Communications? Back in the 90s, Excel Communications, when the telecommunication industry deregulated, created more millionaires than any company in the history of the country at this time. They were the fastest company to $1 billion in revenue. Microsoft did it in 10 years, they did it in 7 years. Chris Chambliss was the 52nd employee hired at that company. So he was there at the beginning, and he took it all the way to $1 billion faster than anybody in the world. Do you think he might know something about building a business? So then I looked at the company's growth. Their first 3-4 years of business, the company went from 0 to $325 million in revenue. A little company called Inc. Magazine. Any of you ever heard of Inc. Magazine? They have a magazine they publish every year, list the 500 fastest growing privately held companies in America. And guess who was number 1? After their first 3 years of growth, a little company by the name of Ambit Energy is the fastest growing privately held company in America. Our 4th year, last year we did $417 million. Our 5th year we're projected to do about $750 million. And our 6th full year in business, we should go over the billion mark, which will put us as possibly the 2nd fastest company ever to $1 billion. Facebook did it in 4.5 years. That time is already passed. How many of you would agree that a company like that deserves your attention? So, investor strength. Basically, if you've made millions and millions or billions of dollars in the energy industry in Texas, the Hunt family, the Perot family, the Carter family, the Thompson family, all heavily invested in Ambit Energy. Money always seeks money. My thought, Kenny, was if it's good enough for the Perot family to invest their money in, it's good enough for me to become a consultant, right or wrong. You with me? Nah. Looked at the high growth experience Jerry and Chris have experienced in their lives. I looked at the Fortune 500 executive team. One gentleman comes to mind. John Berg is recognized as one of the top CIOs in the world. Computer World magazine just did a magazine on him. And John Berg created a patented billing and customer care platform that is second to none. What that platform allowed us to do is establish a long-term purchase agreement with the second largest corporation in the world and the largest supplier of energy in North America. How many of you would agree that's a big deal? To be able to buy, understand, to be able to partner up with the largest corporation, the second largest corporation in the world, that's a big deal. Now, let's take a look at the industry. Monopolies are being broken up. The energy industry is a $477 billion industry that is currently going through deregulation. Put it in perspective, the long distance industry, telecommunications, was a $77 billion industry, and Excel Communications created more millionaires than any company has in United States business history. And this industry that you're looking at tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is about 7 times as big. People have the right to choose where they buy their gas and electric for the first time, and the timing couldn't be more better. More better. South side. By the way, when you grow up on the south side of Chicago, you say things like "ain't it?" or "I seen him," and that kind of came out of me the day before. I mean, I was an SAT 740 on the math, 440 on the verbal, and you just saw exactly why. Okay. So let's look at our market size. The gray shaded states are in some form of deregulation. We have $100 billion of revenue available to us right now. Ambit currently is in Illinois, Nicor Gas in the ComEd territory. We are in Texas, electricity only. We are in New York, and we just opened up Maryland in the fall. We just opened up Pennsylvania in the spring. We currently have an unbelievable market that's available to us, and we have less than 3% of the market share that's available to us. Ladies and gentlemen, the Direct Selling Association has a publication that lists the 100 largest direct selling companies in terms of revenue. Ambit came in after the first 3 years of business as the 38th largest direct selling company in the world. After our 4th year, we jumped to 31, and this is our 5th full year of business. We're projected to jump at about number 20. Does anyone see a trend? Now, the 37 companies ahead of us on that list as of last year have been in business on average for 40 years and 2 months. Ambit, as of that publication, have been in business for 3 years and 2 months. Steve, you know what those companies have in common besides that? They all do business in all 50 states. Some of them do business in over 100 different countries, and as of that publication, Ambit was in 3 states with less than a 2% market share in any state we do business. How can you see why someone like me, who's averaged a few $100,000 a year in this industry, and by the way, I'm very lazy. Most of my income came off the average of others. How many of you in this room are lazy? The rest of you are too lazy to raise your hands. Now can you see why I am committing 100% to Ambit Energy moving forward? See, this is what you've got to be thinking about, is where are you going to commit? What's going to happen for your family? So, how does it work? This is how it works. One company used to generate, deliver, and sell you your gas or electricity. That's not how it works anymore. Let's keep it very simple. Now people have the right to choose whether they buy their gas or electricity. So let's talk about our service. In the 21st century, the information age, would you agree customer service is what's going to separate the haves from the have-nots? And trust me, bad news passes 10 times faster than good news. So I want you to think about this. Everybody you know already uses our product. It's unconsciously purchased and habitually used. Everybody. Now think about this. No one ever voluntarily cancels their comment, do they? I know this is voluntarily. It's been canceled on us several times. Well, no one ever does it voluntarily. Unconsciously purchased and habitually used. Before people pay their mortgage payment and their car payment, they pay their electricity bill. Any of you seen foreclosed houses in your neighborhoods? Are the lights still on? They haven't paid their mortgage in a year, but man, they're